They killed our bonuses. The same afternoon, the Department of Defense signed the largest contract in company history. Not a modest shortfall. Not a scaled-back payout. Not a delayed distribution. I mean, our COO stood in the middle of our celebration, warm coffee in our hands, the good catering my assistant had arranged that morning, and told 47 engineers, analysts, and support staff that our performance bonuses for the year had been reallocated to a company-wide talent transformation initiative. He delivered it with that calm air people mistake for confidence. I've learned to recognize it for what it really is. My name is Marcus Webb. I'm 54, Senior Director of Engineering Operations, 16 years at this company. I came up through the technical side, started as a systems integration analyst straight out of the Army, 4 years with a security clearance badge clipped to my chest and circuit diagrams in my head. I watched this company grow from 70 people operating out of 2 floors in a Tyson's Corner office to 430 personnel with federal clients on 3 coasts. I didn't just watch it grow. I helped build the framework it grew on. The contract that triggered all this was Project Meridian, a Department of Defense systems integration initiative worth $23 million over 3 years, with options to extend to $41 million if Phase 1 met their benchmarks. Our team had spent 14 months on the proposal alone. I personally flew to 5 different bases to understand operational requirements. My lead systems architect rebuilt our core methodology documentation from scratch to meet DoD security specifications. My senior analyst ran a parallel quality review process on nights and weekends voluntarily because she cared about the outcome. When the award notification came through, the building erupted. People hugged in hallways. Someone hung a hand-lettered sign in the break room that said, "Meridian Team, we did it." That was a Tuesday. The catering arrived Thursday morning. My COO showed up at 11:45 a.m., wearing that expression he always wore before reframing bad news as visionary insight. He tilted his head slightly, clapped once, and got the room's attention. He said the bonus pool allocated for Q4 performance targets was being redirected. The company needed to invest in next-generation talent infrastructure. Building culture wasn't free. High performers didn't need financial incentives to continue performing. They were intrinsically motivated. 47 people who had just delivered a $23 million federal contract didn't move. My senior architect, who hadn't taken a single vacation day in 14 months, set her coffee down carefully. My lead analyst, whose name should have been on the press release but wasn't, just stared into the middle distance. The junior team members, still paying off student loans, the ones who stayed late every Thursday for a year, shared the look you get when command has made a decision that defies all logic, and you're deciding in real time whether to speak. I didn't say anything yet. I just smiled. Small, just enough. I'd been carrying something in my briefcase for 3 weeks, a document pulled from my personal files when rumors about the bonus pool started circulating. Reviewed by outside counsel, just to be certain. I said simply, "Conference room, 30 minutes. I added, "Bring the contract, the master services agreement." He didn't understand why he wouldn't. Not yet. To understand why we got to that point, I need to take you back 11 months. When our CEO announced he was stepping back from daily operations due to a cardiac event not life-threatening, but serious enough that doctors called rest mandatory, he also announced who would be running day-to-day operations. I remember the all-hands clearly. The CEO spoke the COO's name with nostalgic warmth, like introducing someone at a reunion rather than handing over a federal defense contractor. "Observe," he said. "Learn the business. Get a feel for how we operate." The following Monday, the COO walked in with a 40-slide onboarding presentation. He opened with a quote he attributed to Sun Tzu, which I later confirmed came from a LinkedIn influencer selling leadership coaching packages. He introduced himself as a systems thinker with a passion for human-centered operational excellence. He asked everyone for one word describing how they felt about the company's future, wrote them on a whiteboard, and photographed it for Slack. His first conversation with me was at 7:15 a.m., while I was reviewing Meridian's Phase 1 milestone schedule. He leaned against my doorframe and asked if our team was too siloed. I told him our structure was appropriate for classified technical work. He nodded slowly, not really listening. He mentioned agile transformation and wondered if a flatter hierarchy might unlock latent innovation energy. I asked what that meant. He promised articles. 2 weeks later, I received a calendar invite for a mandatory culture and performance realignment workshop for all senior directors. The facilitator was his former hospitality colleague, an organizational vitality architect who had never worked in defense. The first session began with closing our eyes and visualizing our ideal team experience. My senior architect opened hers and looked at me. I kept mine closed, calculating how far we were from the Meridian proposal deadline and how many of these sessions I could survive before something critical slipped. Over the following months, the COO restructured 3 departments without consulting anyone who worked in them. He brought in 2 more consultants, one for an employee listening tour, one to develop a purpose-driven performance framework, which seemed to replace clear bonus criteria with something called a contribution constellation. He eliminated our weekly operational status meeting in favor of a 15-minute flow check-in with no slides. He also attended client meetings to get a feel for relationships. I watched him explain our methodology to government program managers with the confidence of someone who had read a summary document the night before. The managers cycled through polite interest, subtle confusion, and quiet dread as he described our engineering framework as a creative ecosystem. One asked a technical question about data integration architecture. He said he'd have his team circle back. I answered it myself. He paraphrased my answer, and the manager thanked him. This happened 3 times over the project. Each time, I answered. Each time, he repeated it. Each time, his name appeared in the follow-up email summary. When the award notification for Project Meridian arrived, the company-wide announcement came from him. The subject line read, "A historic win, our vision realized." His strategic leadership and client relationship philosophy were credited as central to the outcome. My team got a single sentence near the bottom, grouped with the broader organization. I printed that email and placed it in the same folder as the document I had carried for 3 weeks. Let me tell you about that document. When I joined this company 16 years ago, my employment agreement was standard, base salary, benefits, non-disclosure provisions. But I had negotiated one additional clause. My attorney had pushed for it, and the company's founder, also my CEO, agreed without much deliberation. He didn't think it would ever matter. The clause was tucked into Section 9, subsection D, within the intellectual property provisions. It stated that for any proprietary systems integration methodology developed under my direct technical leadership that generated contract revenue exceeding $5 million in a single federal award, I would retain co-inventor status. I would be entitled to formal technical attribution, including approval rights over how the methodology appeared in future federal proposals and marketing materials. Nobody thought we'd ever hit $5 million in a single award. When I signed it, our largest contract was a $2.3 million network security project for a mid-level agency. The $5 million threshold felt theoretical, a clause lawyers insert because it seems harmless. Project Meridian was built on a systems integration framework I had spent 3 years developing, proprietary, ours. The award was $23 million. The methodology I built was cited in the DoD's justification as a primary technical differentiator. The clause wasn't theoretical anymore. It was active. And my COO had just stood in front of my team and canceled their bonuses while his name topped the email taking credit for our work. I had given him 30 minutes. I used 20 to make 2 calls and send 1 email. First, to our general counsel, a precise woman who had survived every restructuring because she knew where everything was buried. When I read Section 9, subsection D to her, she went silent for several seconds, then asked me to repeat the threshold language. I did. She said she needed 45 minutes to pull the original filing and cross-reference the award documentation, but I only needed confirmation on co-inventor status and approval rights. She said she'd call back in 20. The second call was to my original employment attorney, now semi-retired. He laughed when reminded of the clause. He said he always warned it was a sleeper, decorative until it isn't. He confirmed enforceability hadn't changed. Co-inventor status on a cited federal methodology wasn't a gray area. The email went to the CEO directly. 3 sentences, no preamble. I said the clause had been triggered. I was meeting with his roommate in 10 minutes, and he should be on the call. He responded in 4 minutes. He would dial in. When the COO walked in, he carried the casual posture of someone expecting a complaint about morale he could redirect with empathy language. I set a folder in the center of the table. He opened it like someone suspecting bad news but unsure how bad. First page, highlighted employment agreement section 9. Second page, award documentation with methodology citation highlighted. Third page, our general counsel's preliminary 1, paragraph confirmation time-stamped 43 minutes prior. He read slowly, pen in hand. then froze. Head tilt disappeared. This is just standard IP boilerplate. These clauses don't typically, he started. It's not boilerplate, I said. It's a co-inventor provision triggered by federal award revenue. We just received $23 million of it. The methodology your email credited to your strategic vision is the one this clause covers. I helped build this company for 16 years. My team delivered this contract, and 47 people are going home today without the bonuses they earned because of their work. He shifted in his chair, began to argue chain of command. The video window lit up. The CEO's face appeared, still tired from his health situation but sharp. I understand we're discussing Section 9D, he said evenly, looking at his roommate without expression, then at me. Walk me through what you're requesting. I listed 3 things. First, the bonus pool for Project Meridian's core team reinstated in full within 30 days, using original performance criteria. All 47 people, not just senior staff. Second, formal co-inventor attribution on the Meridian methodology in all future federal proposals and marketing materials. Third, operational authority over technical delivery teams restored under my department, removed from the previous 11 months of restructuring. I added that the announcement email should be corrected to reflect who did the work. The CEO looked at his roommate. Silence stretched. Then he said, "That's fair." The roommate opened his mouth. I recognized the type. Men who rely on proximity rather than earned authority. The CEO continued. I signed that agreement. It says what it says. I've heard how this year went. The roommate protested. This is a legal technicality being used to undermine a leadership transition. It's a performance clause. The CEO said, it's supposed to be a technicality. That's the point. Marcus, the one paying attention, was the only person ready for it. The meeting lasted 20 minutes. The CEO ordered his roommate to transition operational responsibilities back to department-level leadership over the following 2 weeks. No firing, just a graceful ramp down. Within 6 weeks, the COO had quietly departed to a senior advisory role, involving no direct reports or client contact. The organizational vitality architect's contract wasn't renewed. The purpose-driven performance framework was shelved. The contribution constellation disappeared. The next day, I sent a department-wide message at 6:45 a.m. before most people arrived. Short, the bonus situation was reversed. Distribution timeline set. Amounts reflected original criteria. I told them it was because of their work, patience, and professionalism. My senior architect replied in 4 minutes. I knew you had something in that briefcase. My lead analyst, whose name had been left off the press release, came into my office and said, "Did you really go back and read the original employment agreement?" I told her I read every word, a habit from the Army. She nodded, then said, "I'm going to start doing that." 3 months later, the CEO called at 6 a.m. on a Wednesday. He wanted me to review a potential partnership. An hour later, I was across from the CEO of a mid-size federal IT firm in Reston, tracking Meridian performance. Their company was strong in cybersecurity, lighter on systems integration. Their non-negotiable condition. This must be led by the people who built it. No transition management, no outside consultants, just the technical leadership that delivered Meridian. I thought about the previous 11 months, culture workshops, whiteboard photographs, flow check-ins, contribution constellations, my senior architect setting her coffee down in silence, the analyst whose name had been removed. I thought about the production floor, operations center, engineering teams at full capacity, Meridian Phase 1 3 weeks ahead of schedule, junior analysts who had grown a full professional tier in 14 months. I said, let's do it. The partnership agreement was signed within 3 weeks. No drama, no restructuring, no mandatory vision sessions. Just 2 organizations combining their strengths to deliver federal work. 4 months later, a LinkedIn notification appeared. The former COO launched a consulting practice on leadership transitions. His page had a free-looking logo and a tagline about unlocking organizational potential. He listed Project Meridian under his experience as a strategic initiative he oversaw. I stared for 30 seconds, then closed the laptop and returned to the operations floor, where my senior architect was briefing 6 new engineers from the partner firm. My lead analyst had been promoted to principal systems analyst 2 months prior. The junior team members received retention packages that kept them well past competing offers. Meridian Phase 1 delivered on time, under budget, with technical evaluation prompting proactive DoD outreach for Phase 2. The clause remains in my employment agreement. The CEO never asked for its removal, and I never raised it again. It sits quietly in Section 9, subsection D, a 15-year-old provision nobody thought would matter. It mattered because 47 people showed up every day and did the work. That's the part to understand. Not the legal technicality, not the clause language, not the conference room confrontation. When someone spends a year trying to rewrite excellence, replacing performance with philosophy, accountability with aesthetics, experience with credentials, the work doesn't lie. Numbers don't adjust for buzzwords. The DoD doesn't award $23 million to a contribution constellation. They award it to people who know what they're doing and do it anyway, even when someone else takes the credit. I didn't need a new title to fix what was broken. I didn't need announcements or drama. I needed authority to get back to work and patience to wait for the right moment. Sometimes the best response to being underestimated is to keep going, keep building, keep documenting, keep reading every word of everything you sign. And when the moment comes, and it will, if the work is real, you'll already have the folder ready.